do have 11 players. My opponent, on the other hand, only has 6. So, no, he has 8. He has 8 players. So I am 3 ahead at the moment, so that's pretty cool. He's got both his heralds still, and he has 2 bloodletters. In fact, yeah, everyone that's been taken out has been a cultist. However, one of those guys is his skilled cultist, who has the block skill. Oh yeah, and it was half time. We've got our rerolls back, so yes. This is officially the second half. And on to the kickoff. And as you can see, I proceed to roll a bunch of lovely dice on my Halfling Master Chef, which allows me to steal 3 rerolls, even though my opponent only had 2. So I currently have 7 rerolls, and my opponent has none. My opponent, however, kicks the ball extremely short, and it lands in this little jostling position between my treeman and my Halfling number 4. But my Halfling insists he takes the ball, and eventually does so. And as for the kickoff table, we rolled a riot, and as you can see, it's actually my turn 10, as the turns have been pushed forward a little bit. And as you have also seen, I'm sure, I have moved my number 8 up a little bit just to provide that little left corner of the cage. Ran my number 12 up along the right side, and now I'm proceeding to go and try and hit number 1 with my number 1, Rocksteady, who then carries on his movement and creates a nice little corner on the right side of that cage. Meanwhile, Bebop goes and smashes number 3, Ralph, to the face and knocks him over. And I imagine I'm going to move up my number 5 so that I can get a block upon number 8. But before doing so, I'm going to move my number 4 along a little bit, just so that cage is in fact created by 2 treemen rather than by a Halfling and treeman, since the treemen are a little bit sturdier. So I rush in there and proceed to blitz number 8 with my number 5. Get a defender stumbles, so knock him down. As so, which does free up my 13 and 14. And I use the rest of his movement to go and create that little bottom right section of the cage. Meanwhile, number 13 is going to go and leg it up the pitch a little bit. By doing this, I can potentially hand off to one of these upper halflings, these halflings at the top of the pitch, and proceed to run down with them in an effort to score, rather than taking the risk of having to throw a halfling. And yeah, generally speaking, that is going to be safer, trying to hand off to a guy at the top of the pitch and then run down with him rather than throwing a teammate, because you don't have to risk making that agility 4+ roll, as well as the actual throw teammate skill itself, which is always going to be a 2+ unless you're in a tackle zone. Most of the time you can't do it, just due to the amount of players your opponent will have standing in places which will get in the way of you, preventing you from successfully handing off, or at least forcing you to have to make a bunch of dodge rolls to get to that player before you can hand off to them, or because that player that you may want to hand off to is in tackle zones, as my opponent is proceeding to perform at the moment. You can't actually hand off to them because there's too many negative modifiers applied to them. And even then, sometimes, if your opponent simply has a couple of players at the back of the pitch, you don't want to hand off to a guy at the top, because he won't be able to make it far enough and will proceed to get blitzed in your opponent's turn. And even if he isn't knocked down, they can still proceed to surround him. And you don't want to have to be making dodge rolls with your guy that's carrying the ball, since you'll be not only risking turnover, obviously, but also then dropping the ball for your opponent to easily go and pick up. And defending is generally the hard part with halflings, getting the ball off your opponent, since your treemen can't move a shit and your halflings are weak. So yes, once you've got the ball, you really want to hold on to it as hard as you can. I mean, that generally applies to everyone, but especially with people that aren't particularly good at stripping the ball from their opponents in the first place. Yeah. But yeah, as you can see, the good thing about making those upward threats by putting players at the top of the pitch in these positions whereby they can potentially be receiving the ball from hands-offs is that your opponents then generally get a bit paranoid, as they should do, and proceed to go and mark them up with a whole bunch of players, allowing you to freely move the rest of your players up the pitch. And here I go in and blitz with my treeman, just get a pushed result, so shove him over to the side, this Khorne Herald, but he is in 2 tackle zones now, so now I can proceed to hit him with a Halfling, get 2 dice block against, and get some defender downs, which proceeds in a ugly foot soldier, stunning Ezekiel Bob. Number 2, however, has yet to do anything, but I'm going to put number 5 next to him so he can get a 3 dice block on number 3. But not before moving my number 14 down the pitch. I imagine I'm going to therefore move my number 4 behind them, yeah, and lock up that side, just so there's no threat of my number 4 getting hit by any of my opponent's dudes. Oh, and it is, yeah, number 4, Ferocious Foot Soldier, who currently holds the ball, and he was the guy that scored in the last half. I don't think I even intended for him to be the guy that got the ball, but due to my opponent kicking short and it happening to land on him, he ended up getting the ball anyway, so there you go. And as you can see here, just putting some more markers around to create tackle zones so that my guys can't get blitzed, or at least my ball carrier can't, and my number 2 is going to hit his number 3 and knock him to the floor. So number 1 now is not going to be able to get to my number 4 ball carrier, at least without making a whole bunch of dodge rolls. And then I rush in with my number 3 and try and foul his number 4 Khorne Herald, who's still currently stunned on the floor, but unfortunately that doesn't work. He gets spotted from a mile off, and yeah, number 3 is sent packing. Who was that? Fanatical Foot Soldier, who was out for blood, as you can see. But now it's my opponent's turn, and his number 2 is going to go and kick my number 12 Flamboyant Foot Soldier straight in the face. So he is now off the pitch. And with that said, I think now me and my opponent have the same number of dudes on the pitch again. Actually, nope. It seems like I still have one more. And my opponent's number 10 Blitzer Bloodletter Frankie Fight runs into blitz my little halfling dude, but fails to do anything of significance. And meanwhile, number 8 attempts to hit my number 11. However, he rolls 2 attacker downs and so gets himself planted on the floor. Freckled Foot Soldier ain't taking no shit this time. And on to my turn 12 already. So, first thing I'm going to do, go and mark up number 1 with my number 7. Get that assist on him. And go in and blitz him with my treeman. Rock steady. Get that 3 dice blitz upon him, but roll 3 push results, and so just shove him back a little bit. But at least he's still in the tackle zone of the treeman. In fact, 3 of his players are now in the tackle zone of the treeman, which is not good news for him. To be honest, I should have probably re-rolled that. Tried to get a knockdown, tried to get some damage done, try and get some SPPs for my treeman, because I really want them to get break tackle as soon as possible. And since I've got 6 re-rolls, and I can't see me needing to do anything else really that requires a re-roll in this turn. I mean, the only thing I might do is hit his number 10 with my 13. But aside from that, there's no other reason to use a re-roll this turn. There's only, what, 4 turns left for me. Got 6 re-rolls, I should have probably re-rolled it. Tried to get some damage, try and get some SPPs. The only other thing I may want to use the reroll for is moving my number 2 treeman to do some GFIs and move him up to the top left of that cage. And then I steadily move him up there. And so now we have recreated our cage. And we are quite firmly in our opponent's half of the pitch. Our opponent currently only has 5 free guys, as in 5 guys that aren't in tackle zones. However, 2 of them guys are behind us and on the floor. So it is not looking too good for them. However, they still, well, number 3 at least, still can blitz my ball carrier if I do not get at least somebody else around the back there to mark him. And I'm guessing that will be the job of my number 8. It turns out it will. So the only guy I have left to do anything with is my number 13, who is going to dodge to the left of that bloodletter and carry on dodging, gets out of there, and moves himself upwards. So we have a new possible receiver of the ball, which my opponent will either be forced to mark up, or there will be the risk of him receiving it and being able to run to the touchline. Now onto my opponent's turn 12, and he's going to go and stand up his number 8 and stand him next to my number 11, and then move his number 2 over to my next to my number 5. He's going to stand up his number 3, so he's locking up the halflings on the right side of my cage. We're not really locking them up thanks to having that dodge skill, but at least marking them up. So he can potentially hit them if they're still there in the next turn, or force them to dodge, and should any of them fail their dodge rolls, any halflings remaining in those tackle zones will be beatable. He then proceeds to run in and blitz my number 5 filthy foot soldier with Felgull, the Khorne Herald. Pushes him once and pushes him again. No defender downs for him. Of course, all this will be a lot more dangerous once this Khorne team, or would be a lot more dangerous, once this Khorne team were to get a bit more experienced and get a block on a bunch of their players. As you can see, he's already got 4 SPPs on him, this Khorne Herald, and yeah, with 2 more SPPs and that block skill, he could have planted my halfling straight onto the floor. Once all of these guys have block on them, or at least most of them, he could have been doing a hell of a lot more damage to my halfling team. So right now I've been lucky enough to catch them whilst they're still pretty not useless, just a bit weak basically. And as you can see there, my opponent got a turnover thanks to attempting to dodge out with his cultist, but failing it and getting himself knocked out in the process. So to begin my turn, I get Bebop to come over here and blitz that herald out the way, and then I imagine I'm going to finish his movement by standing him next to these 3 Khorne dudes, but apparently I'm not going to. I'm just going to stand him there. Oh, to create the bottom part of a cage, as I move my number 14 up to create the top right part of a cage, which will inevitably see my number 4 rushing down that northwesterly side. So I'll go and use my 7 to go and mark up my opponent's number 10 bloodletter so that I can get a 3 dice block on him undoubtedly. Go and hand off to my number 13. Finish foot soldier. And number 13, I imagine, is going to go and run to the end of that pitch. But not yet apparently, because first of all I'm going to do the 3 dice block upon Frankie fight, get a defender down, and pummel him to the floor as well, but choose not to carry on, I guess, so I can just continue marking up this number 4 and go and score with finish foot soldier. Now I could have obviously delayed it a little bit there and scored with my 3 SPP foot soldier to get him leveled up by the end of the game, but to be honest, I'm not in any great, I don't have any great desire to level up my halflings as soon as possible. For the most part, I want to keep them cheap. I find that there's not many skills you can really take with them that make them all that useful. Sidestep's nice, diving tackle can be nice, but yeah, they're not amazing. I mean, you know, that skill costs 20k, and that's 10k off another halfling. And I really want to keep my team as cheap as possible. The only guys I'm really eager to level up as fast as possible are my treemen, so I can get that break tackle and also hopefully grab, but most importantly break tackle. I really want break tackle on my treemen. So yeah, so I was willing to score there with my non-leveled up halfling, just in an effort to spread the SPPs around a little bit. Since I've got so many SPPs, so many halflings, undoubtedly the MVP is most likely going to go onto one of them anyway, and so it's only a matter of time before they're all leveled up, and hideously expensive for halflings as it is. So yeah, I didn't feel any desire to level up Ferocious Foot Soldier, I think it was, yeah, with his 3 SPPs. Instead, just split them among him and finish. Not that there'd been anything wrong with levelling him up. I mean, if I were to get a doubles roll, I'd be very happy with that, because I want to get as much dirty player. Well, I don't need loads of it, but I want to get, ideally, at least two halflings with dirty player on them. Because it's basically the mighty blow of fouling, and really allows you to hurt people that are on the floor, and that's the best way halflings can hurt people. And giving up a halfling for generally any of my opponent's dudes is a good trade. That is to say, if he were to injure the guy that's on the floor and then get sent off. But yeah, I want dirty player as soon as I can on my halflings, though not so soon that I don't need it as soon as possible, basically. What I do need as soon as possible is that bloody break tackle. And onto the kickoff once again. Lands very short, easy for my opponent to get hold of, and it is his turn 13. He's going to start the turn by blitzing with his Bloodletter straight into my number 14, Flight Attendant Foot Soldier. As you can see with the names, I was getting a little bit desperate at this point, and yep, goes and shoves him next to the treeman. Meanwhile, he's going to run down number 3 just to put a tackle zone around the ball. And run in here with his number 11 Khorne Herald, Felgull, and pick that ball up. And then attempt to pass it to a Bloodletter and completely screw it up. The Bloodletter looked completely oblivious as to what was going on there. He just watched it fly past him. Why did you do that for, sort of thing? Not realising that he was actually supposed to be trying to catch that. But yeah. On to my turn 14. And going to go and mark up number 8 so that I can get that 3 dice block with my treeman, get a defender stumbles. And so stumbling he will be, number 8. But I choose not to follow on. Probably just to keep up this wall, not wanting to break it up too much. And I go and step my treeman forward a space. And use him to try and throw number 14 down the pitch, who successfully lands. Flight Attendant Foot Soldier. Well, he is a flight attendant. He is used to being in the air. Perhaps that's why he landed successfully. Either way, he'll then attempt to pick up the ball. Does so. Attempts to dodge out the tackle zone. Hits that 1 in 9 chance of falling over. And so is left on the floor with the ball on the floor. But had he broken out of that, he would have scored immediately. Well, actually, I might have taken GFI. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, would have taken 1 GFI. So, yeah, that could have been mighty. Well, it wouldn't have been that dangerous for my opponent, because my opponent's quite clearly lost by this point. I mean, it's turn 14. He's not going to get 3 goals in 2 turns. But yeah. He probably, just stop him for the sake of stopping him. For the sake of pride or something or another. It's still in my opponent's interest to score if he can, because, getting 3 SPPs on a player is pretty cool. The only other way, of course, he can get SPPs is by beating the shit out of my halflings. But my treeman could put an end to that quite fast, should they get into the tackle zones of these guys. And it's not difficult for my halflings to get out of the tackle zones of the Khorne dudes, so yeah. It's still in his interest to try and get a goal if he can. So as you can see, he's going to go and blitz my halfling with his Khorne Herald and knock him down, and then run up his number 3 next to the ball to not allow number 14 to get back up and just swipe it so easily. And then he's going to run his Frankie fight, number 10, down the left flank, on my left flank a little bit. Probably going to try and catch it with him, or at least, no, looks like he's going to create a bit of a cage with him and uses number 2 to also lock off my players, whilst he runs down that flank with his bull carrying Ezekiel Bob Khorne Herald. However, he's not in the safest of places right now, so I imagine he's going to try and... Yep, he did try and pass it again. And again, well, actually this time it wasn't really the Bloodletter's fault. It was Frankie... No, it wasn't Frankie fight. It was Ezekiel Bob's fault, as the ball just slips out of his hands and lands on the floor. But it is in 3 tackle zones, so it's not all bad. Now on to my turn 15. And as you can see, go and mark up number 9 so that I can get the 2 dice blocking him. And we get a defender down, so he is going to have his face knocked off and into the casualty box, where he's KO'd. As you can see by that giant bell hovering over his head. And number 4, Mr. Ferocious Foot Soldier, is going to go and stand next to number 8. Going to go and stand my number 10 next to number 2. I might throw number 10 with my number 2. Perhaps just to try and land on a Khorne player and do some hilarious damage of some sorts or another. But chances of actually succeeding at that pretty low, but it would be cool to see. I'm going to go and stand my number 7 next to my opponent's number 11. And my number 9 as well, by the name of Funtime Foot Soldier. Can't actually hit him though, since number 5 is on the floor. Unless I choose to blitz him on number 5. But if I do that, then I'm not giving my treeman the chance to blitz. So that seems a little bit daft. Okay, just going to keep him in 3 tackle zones. Well, he can't get a 2 dice block on any of these halflings until he marks one of them up with one of his other Khorne players. So that's something. And I'm going to go and blitz his number 8 with my number 1. And at least get to stand in the tackle zones of 2 of his dudes. So his whole attempt to run down my left flank is basically screwed now. The easiest place for him to run down is obviously going to be my right flank, but his players are far from there. And indeed I do go and try and throw my number 10 with my number 2. But he's been watching the Khorne guys throw, which probably wasn't for the best, as he's picked up some bad habits and completely muffs it up, leaving number 10 lying on his back. And finally, I'm going to stand my number 14 up, dodge him out of number 3's tackle zone, and stand him at the back of the pitch, perhaps with a view to receiving the ball in some sort of a throwing type manner, should I be able to pick it up. So my opponent goes and stands himself next to my number 4 halfling, whilst his herald comes, declaring a blitz upon my Ferocious Foot Soldier, and proceeds to roll, defender stumbles and push. So he's just going to shove him back a little bit. But Frenzy calls him to shove again. He will shove again, and he just shoves him back into that line. And now he has 4 of his guys standing next to my treeman, which is bad in a lot of ways, but then it can be good if he manages to knock some halflings away and then allow himself to get the assists on the treeman to be able to 2 dice block him and knock him to the floor. Goes and marks my number 14 with his number 3. You can see what my general idea may be to do should I get hold of that ball. And proceeds to try and hit my Ferocious Foot Soldier with his number 8 Glenn. Still rolling defender stumbles and pushes though. So he is safe for the time being. However, he can be knocked off the field next turn, should he still be standing there. And now it's time for Felgul to go and take out some of his aggression on my number 9. Still not rolling any defender downs though, and still just shoving guys along. However, he too is in danger of being throttled off the pitch. Dodges out with his bloodletter. Stands him next to the bull. Is he going to go for that pickup though? You know, it doesn't look like it. It looks like he's going more for prevention rather than actually attempting to score now. But nope, he does go in there and he does pick it up. Gets his 4 or more. Dodges out. I'm not sure what else he's going to do with it though now, because he has no other free players really. Well, he is going to attempt to throw it again. He's going to attempt to throw it over the head of my treeman and possibly into the arms of the herald maybe? I don't know. Throws it along and throws it straight off the pitch. He needs to get his eyesight checked. He needs to go to Specsavers, this poor bloodletter. However, the audience throw the ball back in and quite nicely in front of my Finnish foot soldier. First of all, going to run fuck ugly foot soldier up there and mark number 2 to take away his modifier so that I can get the 3 dice block on Ezekiel Bob. Unfortunately though, we don't roll anything that will result in him getting hurt. Or at least, I could have taken both down, but I didn't want to prematurely end my turn just for the sake of attempting to hurt him, because I'm going to try here and get myself a goal, but unfortunately it doesn't work because we pick up the ball. Had to use a reroll to do so, and then in our attempt to hand off, you know, I'm not even sure why I attempted to hand off. What was the point in that? Why did I try and hand off? I should have just ran up there, tried to throw it to number 14, even though it wouldn't have likely worked. Just tried it anyway, and yeah, that was my best chance at scoring. Handing it off to number 13 didn't. Oh no, of course, no. I should have, yeah. I was trying to hand it off to number 13. I was then going to move my number 2 over to number 13, throw him down the pitch, and then of course with the leftover movement of 13, should he have landed on his feet, he can then run up to the touchline and score. I forget sometimes I can actually move my treeman to throw my players. I don't actually have to start a halfling next to them at the beginning of my turn. But yep, all that buggered up, and so there will be no 3rd goal for us. And it's my opponent's final turn. We still do have our 2 halflings standing by the sidelines, so he has his opportunity to throttle them off the pitch. But first of all, he's going to run in here with Frankie Fight and try and smash my freckled foot soldier to the face. Fails to do so, just shoves him into the bull, and that flies back behind Finnish foot soldier. And now it's time for the surfing. Felgol going to shove number 9 off the pitch. Not hurt though. Not hurt at all. I mean, well, double 1. That's about as unhurt as you can be for getting shoved off the pitch. And in the meantime, Ferocious... Oh no, he's not going to hit Ferocious foot soldier. He's... I guess, yeah, this is probably the better play because, you know, he wants to get defender downs here to try and hurt my guys with his own guys so that he can get SPPs for him. If he just knocks them off the pitch, my guys might be hurt, but he's not actually going to get any SPPs for his players. So, you know, it doesn't really achieve anything since the end of the game. So yeah, he made the right choice there. Tried to hit my other halfling in an effort to hurt him with his own dude, get some SPPs, but failed again to roll any defender bloody downs. In fact, my opponent's been failing all game to roll defender downs. He's been pretty unlucky there. And still fails to do so, so he'll probably take both down here. Does so, but only gets a KO, which unfortunately grants him no SPPs. And that is the end of the game. So yeah, 2-0. 2-0 is pretty good. It's not 3-0. It's not even 4-0. But it is 2-0, and that's pretty good. As you can see here, my opponent's pit cultist by the name of Slain, who I don't recall seeing, leveled up, but apparently he was MVP. And Ferocious Foot Soldier, who already scored once in the game, also got MVP. So he... Oh, has he got a niggling injury? Okay. Anyway, yeah, he also has an MVP. So he has leveled up regardless of what the hell I choose for him to do. As you can tell, I have no choice in him leveling up. He's being leveled up against my will. And as for injuries, Red is dead, as we said. Yeah. Slain, who got the MVP there and has leveled up. It was badly hurt, but you know, he'll be able to play in my opponent's next game. However, Cole has had his leg fractured by that treeman, I recall. So he will not be able to play in the next game. Got Fragrant Foot Soldier was badly hurt, and Flamboyant Foot Soldier was badly hurt. I thought they said I had niggling injury on my number 4. Join me for the next Halfling game, which will be against... Woo! Who the hell was it against? It was against Chaos, that's it. My next game will be against Chaos in the Forum Open League.